Hello, hello. Oh yeah, we're live. Okay. It was giving me a weird message. Hello, hello. I can't really see. That's not gonna work. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna turn up my brightness. Hello, welcome to day 4 of Nervous System Triage Week. I'm going to wait for just a second for people to pop on. Oh, I need my things. I think I only need one prop for today. I'm a little crooked here. Let me try to fix this. All right. So as you are popping on, make sure to say hello, where you are coming from, like where you are viewing from, and if you are catching the replay, just say hashtag replay and also say where you're popping in from. I will introduce myself a little bit. So my name is Alyssa. I am the owner of Liss MS. I am a holistic nutritionist and health coach. Hello, Dina. I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, I'm a holistic nutritionist and health coach, and I help my clients with MS rewire their brain and body for healing. I was going to say that my brain is working a little bit better today, but I don't know. We'll see about that. Yesterday, I don't know what happened. I did have a little migraine, but other than that, holy smoky jokes. Heather, hello, my 2 regulars for the week. I love it. Heather, I hope you are doing okay at the moment, or things are getting better on your end. Weird hair here, but we can get started. So today is all about the vagus nerve. So obviously, if you have been here a bit, I've been talking about the vagus nerve a lot because it's so important in like everything. Hello. So like in a nutshell, like our vagus nerve is like the most important nerve in our body. It's our 10th cranial nerve. We have 12 of them in total, and it starts from here. It goes all the way to the end of our colon, and it kind of innervates everything. So like innervate means it goes through, like the nerve goes through. So that kind of innervates all of our major organs, like our heart, lungs, intestines, all of those kind of organs too. So our vagus nerve is also involved in like the organ functioning because it is a kind of master regulator of like the sympathetic parasympathetic nervous system. So if your vagal tone, like we've heard of like that's kind of how we talk about like the vagus nerve is like your vagal tone, like your vagal functioning. If it's too low, like you're not going to be able to manage stress all that well. But if it's too high, then like you're gonna be like in a vasovagal syncope all the time, which is kind of like you're about to faint. So that's kind of over-regulation, like overuse of your vagus nerve. So your vagus nerve, like when fight, flight, kind of things like that kind of pop up, like a situation like where your body needs to go into fight or flight, your vagus nerve is the one controlling it. And then, so like the freeze response, you've heard of that, like fight, flight, freeze. The freeze response is a little bit beyond that. And so that's that vasovagal reaction too, of like if your vagus nerve gets way too stimulated in the moment, it's going to make you just pass out because like you can't handle, kind of essentially, you can't handle it kind of a thing. So it kind of does that for you. So doing these exercises is going to help stimulate and strengthen your vagus nerve, and then improve its functioning as well. As well. Gosh, words just don't sound right to me. I think that's the problem. And so when we kind of support the functioning of our vagus nerve, that's going to help our overall stress response because our vagus nerve in our body is going to be able to regulate itself correctly. So, instead of like having our heart rate or blood pressure like kind of go awry, like our vagus nerve is going to be able to modulate it that much better. So there's a whole bunch of ways that you can improve the functioning of your vagus nerve. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is some long-term things that you can do, and then some short-term in the moment things you can do, because like that's what we're here for this week anyways. But first, I want you to assess your vagus nerve, your functioning. So you're going to do a few things with this. So if you have a tongue depressor, or most people don't have these kind of hanging around, but like any kind of pen, something to hold your tongue down. And so doing this in a mirror is going to be really helpful. I had to use my phone's flashlight actually, like to see in the back of my mouth when I did this earlier. So you probably can't see what the result is, but I'll tell you what I found earlier. So to kind of assess your vagus nerve, like really rudimentarily, that's a new word. You kind of put the tongue depressor on your tongue, and you're gonna make not like a long ah, you know, like you're the doctor, he says ah. He's looking for your, like the uvula, that the hangy thing in the back of your throat, you know. Shout out to Cardi B right there, I think. But yeah, so that hangy thing in the back of your throat is called your uvula. And if your vagus nerve is functioning correctly, so this is the back of your throat, both sides are going to go up and your uvula is going to go back. But if there is a dysfunction, one side is going to go up, the other side is not, and your uvula is going to go to one side or the other. So the side that it's, so I say, this is really weird, but say like you did the instead of it's and you notice this, that your one side was going up, the other side didn't do very much, and your uvula hangy thing was going this way. This, if that was the case, this is the functioning side. So whatever side goes up is the functioning side. The other side, the side that didn't go up, is the side that's a little bit slow or not functioning. So that means that the things that we can do up here, I'm going to show you an ear exercise in a minute. You want to focus on that side and start that side. So you would do and then be looking in your mouth to see what side it goes to. And then if they both go up, then you're okay. Like your vagus nerve is functioning pretty normally. Like obviously these things are still going to help. But if they both go up, you're okay. If they both do not go up, so that is a possibility that you might not notice like it's different, but it might not go anywhere. That means both sides need some support. Okay, and so the other kind of, use my toothbrush and mine goes to the right. Yeah, so to the right, so that means it's going like up like this, like kind of how I was showing. That means that the left side you need to be working. Yeah, left side that we're working on. It's a little confusing. The other thing to think about is your gag reflex. If you have no gag reflex, then your vagus nerve probably needs some love. If you have like an overactive gag reflex, like you gag like immediately, then it might be a little too stimulated. So these kind of tests are not necessarily like, will tell me something like super specific of like where, like what nerve we need to work on, because like there's several nerves up here, like especially facial nerves. There's like glossopharyngeal nerve like down here, and working all of these can be important to the vagus nerve. What's it called? Ephesis, I think? That could be not right, or it could be right. But that basically means that if you work, like say your vagus nerve, because your vagus nerve is next to other nerves, whatever you're doing to the vagus nerve is also impacting those nerves in the same area. So like the things that you do to one can jump to the other. I think that's called ephesis. Could be wrong. So like kind of these assessments like don't necessarily tell me like which of the vagus nerve is kind of dysfunctioning, or your kind of facial nerves, but any kind of these vagus nerve like fixes or help things will kind of help that in the long run. So Dina, to you, yours goes to the right. You might want to do extra tapping on your, like extra tapping here, like on your vagus nerve points, kind of things like that, and try that and like see if it doesn't, like do this, see if it does anything to your assessment. And if it does, then that's a positive thing for you. And if it doesn't, it doesn't mean that it didn't work. It just means that you might need to stack something else on it so your brain pays attention to it. We could talk about that later. So anyways, that's kind of like just to get a rudimentary assessment of your vagus nerve functioning. So kind of to help your vagus nerve in the long term, pretty much everything we've already talked about is going to help your vagus nerve. So that's kind of the beauty of all these things I'm sharing, is that they aren't just helpful for one thing specifically. So deep breathing can be helpful. Hello! Deep breathing is helpful for like calming your, obviously calming your parasympathetic or sympathetic system. Like it's helpful for grounding, you know, like all of these things kind of have interplay together. So if you do like, so deep breathing barefoot in your yard, like while you're humming, like kind of vocalizing, is going to be such a big bang for your buck exercise, because you're going to get your vagus nerve, you're going to get your parasympathetic system involved, you're going to get so many things, and then you're going to get the benefits of grounding. Like the actual earthing that we didn't quite talk about the other day. But like there's a whole host of benefits that like just that one act could do, of like deep breathing and then vocalizing on the exhale and like standing in the ground. Like you're getting such a drastic impact even when it doesn't feel like it. Hello? I like your name. Teletab. Teletabra, I think. That's fun. So all of the things that we've been talking about will help your vagus nerve. So like long-term kind of consistent help would be like deep breathing, the vocalization that I mentioned, grounding, either like the grounding techniques or grounding in the earth, like that I didn't talk about too much, massage, time in nature, like all the things that we've been talking about will help. And so some short-term vagus nerve assistance and help. So here's kind of where we get a little bit weird in the neurology things. A lot of my neurology exercises or drills can sound very weird if you are just looking at it as like a drill and you don't really understand like the neurology behind it, but they really are impactful. So first one is cold water immersion. So I think I mentioned this the other day, especially with grounding, but if you like splash water on your face, like cold water on your face, that sudden temperature change is going to really impact your vagus nerve. So this goes along the lines of like a cold shower or like alternating showers. It's going to help your lymph also. I haven't talked about lymph this week at all. That's amazing. And like a whole bunch of other stuff. So like the cold water kind of back and forth can be really helpful, like in the shower, or if like you don't want to do like a full immersion kind of thing, just splash your face with water. Like that's going to help like a grounding, in a grounding way, like kind of to zap your mind out of like a spiral or like panic attack or something like that. But that would be really helpful kind of in the moment. Another one is going to be your ears. So has anyone seen that movie? I think it was Bad Boys or something. It was like woosah, woosah. Like there is an actual biological neurology component to this. So this is another thing to do if you did the assessment and one side was going the other way, like you had the up to the other side, try these things on that other side. So Dina, this would be on the left side. So your ear, you don't want to just like do whatever. You want to down and out. So it's not a huge movement, obviously. But you go down and out, kind of in an L. So that would be like out, out. Cold water makes me spastic. Yes, that can definitely happen. So that's a great example of how like bioindividuality is a thing. You know, like for some people like cold water like really sucks and like hurts, but for some people it can be amazing. I would imagine that like kind of jumping right into cold water would not be a smart idea. So maybe for you, like if you want to try that, like go like start lukewarm and then cool and then like slightly cooler, you know, like just incrementally, and then also be doing deep breathing while you're doing it. Because I used to be the same way of like you jump into cold water and then you hyperventilate, obviously, because like that's kind of just the normal body reaction. But you can overcome that if you kind of go slower and then also are like aware and are deep breathing at the same time. So yeah, so going back to the ears, so something would be like to pull down and out. Down and out. I actually find this to be really calming to me. And then another one is just to rub your neck right here too, because your vagus nerve kind of begins up in this area. So rubbing your neck, and if you are familiar with the big six or like the lymph stuff, this is an overlap. So you are getting your lymph right here and your vagus nerve. You're welcome. So another one is a big smile. So I mean like you feel crazy kicks when you're doing the big smile. So this isn't necessarily like I'm gonna smile my way out of like feeling like crap. This is more influencing cranial nerves like and facial nerves through your face, which are going to impact your vagus nerve and the rest of your body. Kind of crazy, right? So a little side note, when I was trying to fix my hip a while ago, that was this is what I did, was when I was walking, I would bite down on the tongue depressor on one side, do a really, really big smile every like few seconds, and then I would have this ear plugged and sound in this ear. And doing this, walking, fixed my hip. So it looks funny, it looks insane, but you're really working some neurology here. So yeah, so a big smile can be helpful. And then also this will be really helpful actually in tongue position too. So your tongue position actually impacts a lot of things. So your tongue position will impact your vagus nerve activity, your strength, your grip strength, like which muscles are firing. So your tongue is actually really important to your body and to your brain. So to find a good tongue position in general, so like if your tongue is like in the wrong position, like that could increase sympathetic activity. Wild, right? So to find the optimal tongue position, you kind of, have you seen that TikTok where you raise your eyebrows, smile, and that's your model face? Well, that's what we're doing. So you raise your eyebrows, do a big smile, and then swallow. So instead of like that's your model face, like walk down the catwalk, you're gonna swallow. It's gonna feel really weird, I promise. Like I know it's gonna feel weird, but it's okay. So raise your eyes, smile, and swallow. I haven't had a drink of water for a while, so the swallowing was really hard. But your tongue should be a little bit back. So a lot of people are like, relax your jaw, remove your tongue from the roof of your mouth. I always lose my mind at those memes. I'm like, yes, you mean well, but your tongue needs to be on the roof of your mouth. Like that's where it's supposed to be for like optimal sympathetic and parasympathetic activity here. So whenever you see those memes, don't remove your tongue from the roof of your mouth, please. Anyway, so that smile, like that's like smiling, swallowing position is going to get your tongue back a little bit. Do you feel how it's a little different than like probably where you normally keep your tongue? That's where you want to have your tongue back there, is like just resting kind of on the soft palate instead of like the frontal palate of your mouth. I make your day. Yeah. I told you all, I'm getting a little weird here today. So it's only weird if it doesn't work, and it kind of does work. So yeah, this one's getting a little weird. But anyway, so your tongue can actually be really impactful here too. So this could be an exercise of like having your tongue go out and then you pull it back. You can't see that. You know, just kind of go back and forth with your tongue a few times and see how that helps too. Yawning is another one. So if you kind of force yourself to yawn, that's getting into the parasympathetic there and vagus nerve. And another one that I've seen in a few different ways, like especially on TikTok and stuff, is using your gaze stabilization. So gaze stabilization, if you've heard me talk at all, is really important for a lot of things, really important for your vestibular system and your balance, but it's also important in the parasympathetic, sympathetic balance. So kind of a reset or something that we talked about in one of my last trainings was, so you will have your hands behind your head. I think I've seen a few TikToks about this too. So everything is relaxed. You can do this seated too. You have your hands here, and then you look, just not like this, but with your eyes. So look to the right or to the left for 30 to 60 seconds. And while you are breathing, like everything normal, I'm not timing this, but eventually, if you are like not talking through this, eventually, you will have like a sigh, a swallow, a yawn, something to indicate that your parasympathetic is online. And then you would look to the other side for 30 to 60 seconds until you kind of feel that like relaxation, the sigh, swallow, yawn, something, and then you return your eyes to center. And you only do that once because a lot of these neurology things are really taxing to your body, even though it doesn't feel like it should be. It kind of is. So you want to just do it once a day, and that's it. But that could be like a really great, I yawn so quickly, yeah. That could be like a really great kind of reset, like especially throughout the day. So this could be kind of a proactive one too, of like if you're having a really stressful day at work, like you have a lot of meetings, like you're just kind of trying to like just stay your head above water, maybe you have a lot of stuff going on, like you're not at work, something like that. You could do this throughout the day, or like first in the day, and see how that goes, and like try at different points in the day to see if that makes anything any better. So yeah, I think I'm trying to look at my notes. Well, not getting in the sun. Any questions, comments on any of the weird things that I just shared? Well, I'm just making sure I got everything in my notes. I know I talk a lot about the vagus nerve because it is just really important to everything in our body. Like if our vagus nerve is not functioning correctly and if it's not quite online, then everything else that we're doing to kind of heal, like either diet or other stress management or movement, like is not going to have the impact it would if your vagus nerve was like kind of properly functioning. So that's why I talk about it so much and how like why I start everyone that with like in terms of clients and everything. So yeah. But if there are no questions, then I will see you tomorrow. We are going to wrap up the week by going over EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, or tapping, it's otherwise known as. It's one of my favorite things to do in the moment to kind of bring down some anxiety or like really intense feelings. So that's why it's getting a whole day. So yeah, so that is tomorrow. I can't really see the comments. It's way too sunny. Okay. But yeah, any questions, you can pop them below and I will circle back to answer them, or you can DM me. All right. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your very sunny day.